Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking, right side. He wants it. A comeback cut. It is caught by Kelsey. Touchdown, Kansas City. The game is over. The Kansas City Chiefs are champions. How about those Chiefs?
Welcome to the Kingdom Corner. I'm Andrew, and this is your co-host, the man with the stash. That's coming in lovely, by the way. Your favorite person, Dale.
All right. What's going on, Chiefs Kingdom? I'm sure we're all feeling pretty good on Victory Monday.
We got to be feeling good, right? I mean, going into this game against the Dolphins, we were told by multiple people that the Chiefs didn't stand a chance, that they were just going to get blown out, similar to the Broncos. Maybe not quite that bad, but that's what people thought. So, hey, we want to remind you right up top here, too. Make sure you like this, subscribe, comment, all the above. Share it with your friends. Help us get it out there, and so that we can get more people joining in here to the Kingdom Corner.
Yes, more the merrier.
That's right. So the first game in Frankfurt, Germany, I believe they had one in Munich maybe a year or two ago or some point, but first one in Frankfurt there. So Chiefs hosting the Dolphins there in Frankfurt. There's a lot of talk that the Chiefs were going over there too late. They arrived there Friday. The Dolphins, I believe, got there on Tuesday, and there's a lot of talk saying, well, the Chiefs, they're just going to be so jet lagged, they're not even going to be able to start fast or anything. And what do you know? By halftime, it is 21-0.
21-0. Yeah. So pretty wild that they scored that much points. I think it was probably the most they've scored in a half, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. That can't be right. They
well, probably not, because the Chiefs are very
Chicago.
Right. Well, and the Chiefs, they are not a second half team this year at all.
At all. So I don't know what it is.
Man, I don't think they know what it is. Man, I wish they knew what it was, because then we'd be able to figure some of this out a little more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so they go in hosting the Dolphins. They get the ball first, go down, score. Man, and then all of a sudden, the Dolphins are punting and punting and punting. Right. Yeah. And so for this season so far, the Dolphins had not punted more than 4 times in any game. Yesterday, they punted 7 times.
Wow.
So that is pretty incredible.
Yes, it is. 7 times. I mean, that, for the most, the number one offensive team in the league to punt 7 times, that punter earned his check this week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so like we talked about before, this was the number one offense coming into the game for the Dolphins, right?
Right.
And the Chiefs here coming in as, number 2 scoring defense, at least, averaging 6, giving up 16 points a game, and they held the Dolphins to even less than that.
Wow.
So number 1 offensive league, who's averaging 33.9 points a game, held them to 14 points. And you can make an argument that maybe they could have held them to 10 points if Chris Jones hadn't made, that shove on a huge third down stop by the Chiefs.
Yeah. For sure. And so the defense, I think, is the story of the game again. I think besides the fast start the Chiefs had, which it seemed like they were on script there and they knew what they wanted to do and they were able to do it. A lot of Mahomes throwing, he looked incredibly sharp, and then the defense is locked down. I mean, again, like we said, to be physical on the line of scrimmage, not only the defensive line, but the corners, to be physical with Tyreek and Waddle and the other guys, which it seemed like you hardly heard the other guys' names. What's that number 0? It's a weird name for Miami. Miami has like he's a kickoff or punt return, but it's not Renfro. That's for the Raiders, but it's something like that. Anyway, to hold all those guys, like, just, where no one was making big plays, no one's getting a rhythm. And then the Dolphins were helping us out by getting a bunch of penalties and killing their drives or slowing their drives down, making it harder on themselves. And so, it looked like Andy Reid was out coaching McDaniel. And then it looked like the defense was just running around making plays.
Yeah, for sure. So number 1 offense going against the Chiefs defense, and the Chiefs defense held that offense in check for 3 of the 4 quarters. They scored 14 points in the third, but other than that, home to nothing. Right. And so a couple things to point out here. So the Dolphins had 292 offensive yards, and on the year they're averaging 453 yards. So I mean that is huge. So almost 200 yards less in this game than what they are averaging. Tyreek Hill held in check, which is one of our keys to the game. Said, "Hey, keep them under 100 yards and no touchdowns." Well, they did it. They held about 62 yards and 0 touchdowns. So they did what we said they needed to do. So another thing we said they needed to do was establish the run, right? And they ran the ball. They were committed to running the ball in this game. And so Pacheco got his touches. He got, like we talked about before, when he gets 8 carries or less, they've lost every one of these games, and he got 16 carries in this game against the Dolphins.
Yeah. And he's not the home run hitter, but he's the hitter. I mean, he can make home runs if he gets out on, but he will get you yards, and he does not stop. I mean, there were several times where he would get clogged up, but yet he would push another 2 or 3 yards. And so it just shows you how determined he is and how he doesn't give up on plays. And so to tackle him, it takes a lot of effort. Maybe 2-3 guys most of the time.
Yeah, and he's a bruiser, hard runner. So if you're going to come in for the tackle, be ready, because he's going to try to hit you as much as you're hitting him too. So
exactly.
The thing we have to talk about too, whether you want to or not, the second half, right? And it's been, our I don't know if you're going to call it a strategy. It's not really what they're trying to do, but it's what the Chiefs have been this year. They have not been a second half team at all.
No.
And so, man, what do we got to do to get some second half things going? Because even last week against the Broncos held scoreless again in the second half. So they are not putting up much of anything in the second half. I think they have 1 touchdown in the last 4 games in the second half as the Chiefs.
Yes, and I think a lot of that has to do with our punt return game. Our punt return game is mediocre at best, or McCole Hardman at best.
And I'll tell you, I was saying it during the game. Dave Tope needs to call me, and I need to tell him what to tell McCole Hardman.
I knew this would get you going.
Because you want to know why. McCole Hardman, why are you even trying to catch it on your own 5? There's one time I think he caught it on his 3 or 4, maybe got to the 5. And if he doesn't touch it, there's enough room there. That ball's bouncing into the end zone. You're going to get out at your 20. Why are you even trying? And so once again, if I am Dave Toe, I'm telling that guy, you put your feet on the 8, maybe the 10-yard line. And if it's over your head, get away. Let the special teams try to make a play to pin you back there. Don't just give it to them.
No, I think a lot of that had to do with field position and then just getting pinned back there. And, it's kind of hard. You got the defense is coming after you real fast. And we've known our wide receivers are not great at getting space sometimes. And so that hurts. And then when you triple or double team Travis Kelce, you kind of just take things away. And so it's hard to go 90 plus yards down the field. And so I think that was part of it yesterday. But there has to be more consistent on offense of who you are. I mean, this has been a really strange year for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they've had struggles. I know last year we went through those struggles or maybe it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago when the Honey Badger was on the team. I mean, I remember the defense carried them for the middle part of the season, but then the offense kind of figured it out and got going. But it just seems like, every week we're talking about the offense not figuring it out. The offense not getting going. And so Mahomes and Andy Reid have both promised us, individuals and as the kingdom, that they are going to get figured out. So my question to you, do you trust Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes that they will have it figured out by December, January when it matters?
I think there's a twofold question in this. Do I think they can figure it out? Yes. Do I think the other wide receivers will figure out the game plan and be able to execute it? That I'm not sure about.
Yeah. But it felt like they were listening to the podcast or listening to something because we said, hey, let's limit down. Let's trim down the wide receivers. And it felt like they really did do that with Rashid Rice, Watson, and MBS. It felt like they were in the game a lot more. And then you sprinkled in Sky Moore, who was adequate to say, obviously we don't want to go crazy and be like, oh, Sky Moore's back. Sky Moore's the new weapon. No, he made I think he had 2 catches, if I'm remembering right, maybe 3. And then Tony was in there and he had a big play. But yeah, I think you sprinkle those 2 guys in, and then you use those 3 as horses. And Travis Kelce, would like to see Noah Gray. Noah Gray did great yesterday. I love to see him more in there and doing things.
Yeah, well, they must be listening because you're right, they did. So there's 3 wide receivers that got 30 or more snaps, which accounted for over 50% of all snaps. And the next wide receiver was Sky Moore, who only got 25% of the snaps. And Hardman and Tony got even less than that. Tony only had 7 snaps in the game, 1 target, and that 1 target ended up being big. In my opinion, his biggest play of this season so far.
Right.
He caught it and actually ran forward and got a first down, for 12 yards or whatever it was. And biggest play he's made this season so far. So yeah, they're trying to do that, but some of these guys still have to figure out how to get open. Right. So Rashid Rice led all wide receivers and snaps on the field. And so he was out there for 68% of all snaps. So that's pretty good.
There you go. And for a rookie to come in there and do that is pretty impressive too. So he's just going to get better with time. So answer the question: Are they going to have it figured out by January or December, January when it matters?
Now I need to ask a follow-up question first. Now, when you say figured out, do you mean to the standard that we're used to, or just better than they're playing now?
Yeah. The standard we're used to, because they've said.
Okay, then no. I don't think they'll be to the standard we're used to. I think they'll figure out how to move the ball more, kind of like they did a couple times in the first half here against the Dolphins. I think they'll do some things like that. Well, they'll get a couple drives in each half. Well, they'll be able to move the ball down there and get some points. But I'm not convinced at this point that they're going to be able to get to the elite offensive standard that we're used to. Now, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, right?
I hope you're wrong too.
I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not going to hold my breath that's going to be the case, because from what these wide receivers have shown us, I don't have any reason to believe that they are going to figure it out. I mean, we're 9 games into the season now, coming up on our bye. So we're over halfway through the season and we're still struggling to get guys open even.
Yeah. So I wonder, last year, the Super Bowl was the top 2 ranked offenses, right? Eagles and Chiefs. Chiefs being number 1, Eagles being number 2. So where do we have to get offense overall to win a Super Bowl? Top 5, top 10?
With the defense that we have right now?
Yeah.
Top 15.
Where are we at right now?
Well, according to the numbers, going into this last game, we're number 4 offense.
Okay, so we're number 4 offense, and we have our defense here. You think we can win a Super Bowl?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right. So, I don't like the hesitation, but I'm not feeling the hesitation. There seems like there's a lot more thought in there than need to be.
I know there was a lot of thought. That was for sure. I mean, I'm thinking through some of the teams we're going to have to go through to get to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Even the Bengals are starting to look better. The Ravens, they look like a complete team. Then NFC, maybe the Eagles or 49ers. 49ers don't look the same as they did to start the year, but the Eagles look really good. So there's a lot of good teams and a good talent. So, I mean, it's going to take a special effort on both sides, both defense and offense, to get a Super Bowl just like it does every year. But I think they have the talent, because I think they'll figure it out more, the offense, more than they have so far. But I'm not going to say that they're going to get to the same level that they were the past few years.
Okay.
So, let me ask you this though. So,
all right,
are we a defensive team now? Like, we've relied on our offense for the past however many years. Are we now a defensive team, even with Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, I think so. It seems like a lot of times the offensive players get most of the credit, most of the glory. And so we don't, we're guilty of it on this podcast, where we don't talk about the defense as much as we probably should, because they are playing elite and running around. And so I would say at this point right now, November, 5th, 2023. We are a defensive team.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about the offensive struggle, especially in the second half. You can't be an elite offense and not put up points in the second half.
Right.
You just can't. And so in the last 4 games, we have 1 touchdown in the second half.
Yeah.
Right. All year, we have 5 touchdowns in the second half.
Yeah.
And 2 of those were in the second half against the Lions. So if you take out those 2, we have 3 in 8 games in the second half. That is not a good offense.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say that we're a defensive team. And so that brings us to this then. So who are the players that are stepping up that are making this thing possible?
Yeah. McDuffie, for sure.
Yeah. That guy.
Yes.
If he's not on the all-pro team this year, then somebody needs to figure out how to do that, reconfigure it.
Well, and like I know last year he came on as a rookie and he was hurt, and so it kind of slowed down his progression. But man, that guy is flying around, making plays, guarding Tyreek Hill, guarding Jalen Waddle, Gordon, or whoever is in front of him. So he's making it happen. I think our young guys, Cook, is making it happen. Safety, he's running around, flying around. You said on when we were talking earlier, you said Tranquil had probably the game of his life.
Yeah,
he's making plays. And then I think just this makeshift defensive line, not makeshift, but it just seems like they pull guys, and Mike Dan is doing a great job.
That's your boy right there.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting pressure.
Shout out.
Yeah, he's getting pressure. George Korlafis, he's getting pressure. And then who had the sack? 98? Warrington?
Yeah, Wharton.
Yeah, where's that guy been, right?
Yeah.
And so he had a big sack. And
even to your point, that was caused because of McDuffie blitzing, making to a step up into that sack even. So, man, McDuffie's making, even beyond the stat sheet and what might not show up, he's making his presence known even when it's not showing up on the stat sheet.
Yeah. And I will say this. I mean, I know it's been well documented on this podcast that I think Spags is a genius.
This year is well documented.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I don't know about last year being well documented that you thought that, but all right.
But I will say the times he dials up a blitz, rushing more than the 4 guys that are down, it just seems like the perfect timing. Yeah. It seems like more than not we get to the quarterback or push him off his spot and make him rush or throw a bad pass or throw it away. And so I feel like he is doing he seems like he's in tune to the game. And so, I think Spags, all those guys, you got to love Snead and just playing old school corner, physical. And, he's going to get some penalties because he's a physical corner. But that's what we want, and that's what we need. We need a physical corner because more than likely we're going to face Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, guys that are physical as well. And so we got to have a corner that can match that.
Yeah. And, let's not leave out Justin Reed either. That guy's been playing.
Oh, yeah. He has.
Right. He had several huge hits. They came into that game ready to play, right?
Yes, they did.
And so one other thing, too, talking about Drew Tranquil and some of these other guys, too.
Yeah.
I still think that was the best game of his NFL career so far.
Yeah.
Was this game just against the Dolphins, and with Nick Bolton getting out, he had the most snaps on the defensive side of the ball. I think he had 95% of the snaps.
Wow.
So huge.
Like, and that's a shout out to Veach, right? Getting him in the off season and bringing him in, just depth is fantastic. So,
that's my question: is Drew Tranquil, is he the biggest or maybe the most productive free agent signing that Veach has had? I think you could make an argument for top 2, but
you could probably make an argument for top 2.
The other one might be Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, Tyler Mine, the Honey Badger. That's probably why I don't give shout outs to Justin Reed as much, because I think, you stole the Honey Badger spot. And so I'm a big fan of that.
A little bitter about that.
But I'm a big fan of the Honey Badger, and I thought I'd love for him to still just his leadership. But Justin Reed has filled those shoes very nicely, and so I'm glad he's on the team. But I'm always missing
Justin
out
Reed's
on that.
not quite as vocal as the Honey Badger was, but man, he's still making his presence known,
right?
Whether in coverage or just some of the wood there.
And he's been making big plays. I mean, the blocked punt to keep our blocked field goal last week against the Broncos, that was huge. And so, like you said, making big hits, making the offense feel you. And so that's a good thing.
Yep. Well, and then we got to talk about Tyreek Hill, don't we? I mean,
oh yeah,
we have to. So we talked about in the preview episode of this that Tyreek Hill, his thoughts on the Chiefs depend on his mood for the day. It seems like, right?
Yeah.
So no disrespect to him, he's a great player. We still love Tyreek Hill, kind of.
Kind of. Well, as long as we're not playing him, we love him.
Yeah,
he's giving us a lot of.
Some of his comments make me not love him as much.
So, yeah.
Right. So depending on the week and the day, because he goes back and forth, probably trying to get his podcast numbers up, whatever it is. But
sure,
sure, maybe we should just make things up too, just to create controversy. Maybe
there you
apparently
go.
That's what sells, and we're just trying to speak the truth out here with facts and not just say random things just to say random things. But anyways, I digress. So
yeah.
So Tyreek Hill, he has said multiple times leading up to this game, he said one of two things. He's either said, man, I love the Chiefs. Those are my brothers over there, man. I can't wait. Nothing but respect for those guys. Those guys are, Hall of Fame caliber players. And then, the very next day, he might be able to say, man, the Chiefs, they didn't even want me. They tried to get rid of me. Man, I had to just beg my way and crawl my way out of there. And so it just goes back and forth. And so leading up to this game, he was on an interview, I think it's on his podcast or somebody else's. And he even said, I don't want to, but I'm going to have to throw up the deuces to the Chiefs. I don't want to, but I'm going to have to do it. So luckily we held him out of the end zone, didn't have to see that. But then right before the game, he was, he had made some comments leading up to the game as well, that he's going to have a special celebration, whatever it may be, if he scored. And then it came out right before the game. Apparently, he's told the sideline reporter there, and she reported on the broadcast and said, I just talked to Tyreek Hill, and he says if he gets in the end zone, he's looking over at Andy Reid and going to be shouting, "You shouldn't have traded me." And so, I mean, things like that are just the things that rub you wrong as a fan, because we know what really happened, and they did not push him out of town. Tyreek wanted to be the highest paid player. If that's what you want to do, I'm not going to say you shouldn't be, right?
Right.
So, he got his money like he wanted, and he got traded out like he wanted. And the Chiefs even did him right and let him pick which team they traded him to. So I don't want to hear any of this about Tyreek Hill was mistreated by the Chiefs. But all that to say, that third touchdown right before the half, Trent McDuffie comes up there, lays the wood on Tyreek Hill, gets the ball loose, throttles it loose, jostles it loose, and then Mike Edwards comes up, picks it up. Tyreek Hill wraps him up really quick around his ankles, not really bringing him down. And then Brian Cook comes up. Mike Edwards laterals it back to him, and Brian Cook, who knew how fast that guy was?
Yeah, high stepping down the sideline.
That dude took off for the end zone. They said, as we talked about before, the NFL now measures how fast people run, because apparently we're all about stats now. And he is the fastest ball carrier for the Chiefs so far this season.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So that is impressive. That guy was moving.
Yes, he was.
So how did that make you feel seeing Tyreek Hill fumble that ball?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're like, well, that's why you keep your mouth shut, because things like that. And so you just, there's something to, I know it's boring. I know the media probably doesn't like it. I know fans probably don't like it when football players are boring or they just say the right thing. And like Andy Reid's the most boring coach ever. Always talking about how great the other team is. We're playing. We really look forward to the challenge of playing. Whoever they're great, and so
we'll never say anything wrong about Chiefs players or coaches.
Right, and so we don't. And it's funny because we don't like that, but then we don't like when players start speaking crazy. And so it's funny, but yeah, I definitely. For as much, and I think really the one thing, I think the disrespect to Mahomes. Mahomes I may even not be the most accurate quarterback, but he is the greatest quarterback. And so I think you just keep your mouth. Hey, Tua's really good, right? But he still hasn't done anything. I don't think he's won a playoff game, right? I don't think he's won an MVP. I don't think he's, so there's a lot of things Tua has not done that Mahomes has done. So let's remember who we're talking about, Tyreek.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of Andy Reid too, there's a report that came out this week that said that Andy Reid addressed his team. We just talked about that. He never said anything bad about his team or coaches, and defends them and is even sometimes to a fault too loyal to players and coaches.
Right.
Not because we don't like the people as a person, but sometimes as a football standpoint, you just need to move on or get somebody to replace that person. And Andy Reid is so loyal to those people. That being said, a report came out this week that he addressed the Chiefs team as a whole and the offense specifically, and apparently lit into them about how embarrassing that was against the Broncos and how that should never happen, and so on and so on. And apparently Mahomes stood up and echoed the same sentiments. And so, if that is true, and from all things we can see, it is true. That is good to hear that Andy Reid, as kind and as gentle as he looks on the sideline to reporters, he still has a fire in there to coach. And get these players going. So there is a reason why he is a head coach. And yes, sometimes I don't understand the decisions, but all that being said, he's still a Hall of Fame coach.
Yes, he is. And so I think it also probably speaks more volume when he does get on them, right? Instead of always getting on them or always yelling at them or always cussing them or whatever it would be. And so when he does do it, and it's rare, it's like, oh, okay, we better listen up. We better focus here. We better get going. And the boys looked ready.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for our bye week, and I'm excited to play. I mean, we got the longest bye week possible. We play the Eagles on Monday night.
Yeah. Well, and to follow up before we jump to that Eagles thing too, with Andy Reid, so play calling, right? That's something we talked about last couple weeks.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this.
This is the question everybody's been debating over. So we had to talk about it here too. So the Chiefs get the ball back. There's like 4.5 minutes left in the game, right? And so they get a couple first downs. They can run the clock out. Game's over.
Right.
They don't even get one first down, right?
None.
So they do some very conservative plays. They get up to where it's 3rd and 1. And Pacheco's been running the ball all day, getting you those tough yards.
Yeah.
And now we see that Mahomes is dropping back to pass.
Yeah.
And not only does he not complete the pass, he throws it away because nobody's open.
Right.
And obviously, hindsight is always 20/20.
Yes.
Because we've talked about this before too. Is why are we trying to run the ball when we have a $500 million quarterback too?
Right.
So you have both sides, but what do you do in that situation? So if it's 3rd down and 1 or 2, are you running the ball? Or are you passing the ball in this situation with the Chiefs?
So I think they try to get clever.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you get clever, you hurt yourself, right? And so I think they did 2 runs in a row and they got them to the 3rd and 1, if I remember right. And then I think they thought, oh, we'll catch them off guard and we'll hit a big play down the field.
Yeah.
And then it just crushed their spirits. And so they did. And I just don't think the Miami Dolphins ever thought they were going to run anyway with the 3rd and 1.
And I think the problem was too, is they were trying to target Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Who has been blanketed all game, double or triple covered all game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are one of those things that when teams are playing you like that, and you're getting to be in your 30s, he's 33 now, which for an NFL player who takes a lot of hits like Travis Kelce, that's starting to age a little bit.
Right.
But if you're going to go for on 3rd and 1, and pass the ball to a guy who's been triple covered all game, I don't feel like that's a winning formula. And so I have no problem with them passing it. I have a problem with them trying to pass it to a play that hasn't worked all game.
Right.
And so I don't think there's a wrong decision to run or to pass because Pacheco's been running good all game, getting you tough yards. But if you pass it, I'd rather see them roll out Patrick Mahomes, where he has the ability to either run for the first down or do 1 or 2, short slant routes to get the first down.
Right.
So I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah, and I thought I don't know if you noticed, but I always watching to see who's calling the plays. It looked like this was Matt Nagy's game.
Yeah, well, here's the flip side of that too. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I think Matt Nagy probably calls a lot of these plays as well. But this
game, I think Andy Reid was calling a lot of plays in the previous games, but I think Matt Nagy called this game, and so.
Well, I'm not.
I can't confirm or deny. Yeah,
right. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm bringing up this point is
okay.
the last few years, we've always argued about, is Andy Reid calling to Eric Bieniemy, and gotten on to whoever it was.
Right.
And now we're seeing some of the same results, but new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying Matt Nagy's not calling something, but I also think that Andy Reid is saying pass, run, and then Matt Nagy might be picking the play, right?
Well, there you go. Yeah, that could very well be. I know he has the play book or our play call sheet right there in front of him. And he's always said, they get 49% and I get 51 of the play calling. So whatever he says, has to go, or whatever the call is, has to be approved basically by him.
Yeah. And even if it was Matt Nagy, he would never say it, because once again, he'll never throw any of those coaches under the bus.
Never.
And you don't really want him to either.
No.
It is a fun thing to debate. So is Matt Nagy, if your suspicion is correct that he was calling those play calls, is Matt Nagy the long-term answer for the Chiefs offense? Is he the reason why they're struggling?
I think it's the young talent. That's why they're struggling, right? It's young talent struggling. I don't think the play calls. I mean, sometimes I'm like, what are we doing? But for the most part, usually it's kind of like, what are we doing? And then, hey, we have 1-5 back there, and so he kind of figures it out and gets us going. But yeah, I think it's our young guys just still growing, still trying to figure it out, find their place, find their role in the system.
Yeah. Yep. I don't disagree with you at all. So it'll be fun to see how this all works out. Hopefully they'll find their rhythm and get rolling with that. So we got to bye now, though, as you point out, maybe a longer bye. But we're also coming back from Germany, so maybe a little bit shorter too. But we're going up against the Eagles, who are also going into their bye. So both teams will be coming off of their bye into Arrowhead Stadium on Monday Night Football when these teams return. So,
Super Bowl rematch.
That's right. This game is going to live up to the hype. When we get close to that game, we'll preview that too. But
if we win or we lose, does this game? Okay, let me rephrase this. Does this game mean anything?
Oh, absolutely, it does.
Okay,
so,
all right.
And I think every game means something.
Sure,
right? But especially because with how much we've been struggling, we want to see how we're competing against potentially a Super Bowl matchup, right?
Yeah.
Right now, the Eagles look like the team to beat in the NFC. They have their struggles and shortcomings as well. Jalen Hurts did not look sharp yesterday in his game.
No.
But the Chiefs have got to show that they can play against any of these guys, including big receivers like A.J. Brown. Now, I know they play against people like Tyreek Hill, but so they figure out how to stop speed by jamming you at the line, as they did Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle all game, just hitting him at the line, just bruising him up.
Yeah.
But when you get against guys like A.J. Brown, who's not only tall, but very well built and strong, if you're going to try jam him at the line, you might find yourself on your backside too. So
yes, indeed.
It'll be interesting to see how they approach that game. And so it's going to be a good test for our defense too. I think this game against the Dolphins proved that we have a real defense. So these are two different styles of offenses, though, with the Dolphins and the Eagles, right? The Eagles are a lot more physical. The Dolphins are a lot more speed. So we'll see how we compete against both styles of offense. So it'll be interesting.
It will. It will indeed. So
yes, I think it's not necessarily a quote must-win game.
Right.
It does matter for sure, because you want to see how you're stacking up, and especially coming off the bye, what's your offense doing to compete against these, NFL Super Bowl caliber teams? And no disrespect to the Dolphins, but I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender yet.
Not yet. They're on their way. They're on their way.
Next year they might be right there, but right now I think they're just missing a few pieces.
Yes, indeed.
But they're close. They're close. So, well, thanks for joining us in this episode of the Kingdom Corner. This episode is brought to you by Oh Hey Threads, where a portion of every purchase goes to support missions all over the world, one super soft tea at a time. You can find them online at ohheythreads.com. We'll see you next time right here in the Kingdom Corner.